Now in this video, let us try to write the Python program to show how the function works. So let us try to write the function first. So how can I start writing a function? First, I have to use this def keyword, and after that, you have to specify the function name. Well, I am going to use the same name that I have used before so that you can easily connect, and from there we will do some changes. So def followed by this function name, and after this function name you have to pass the parameter list. So that is n1 and n2, and then there will be a colon, and then so that is this line is basically called the function heading. So after that, from the next line you have to put an indentation, and then you have to start implementing the function. This part basically called the function body, and inside this function body you have to have all the logic that you want to implement. In our case it is simple as of now. Let's say there will be a result and I want to calculate n1 plus n2, and that is it, done. And after that I just want to return the result back to from where the function have been called. So that's my function definition. So you kept this function as a part of your code. Well, now let us start writing the Python program. So let's say I want to take the input from the user. So let's say but before that, instead of taking the input from the user, let us now try to pass 5 and 4.5 to this function. So what I need to do, I just have to write Bob please add, then just pass two different numbers, 5 and 4.5, what we have done before. So here now if I just run it, it will start executing the program normally from here, and then it will go to, whenever it will see that well there is a Bob please add, then it will go to this part. So let's see what happened. So if I just run it, well, now nothing is being printed because I did not use any print statement to print the result. So Bob please add will add the numbers, and now let us try to just print this. So like in here. So here now if I just run it, as you can see that 9.5 have been printed. Now, well, you may have some question like, well, this part of code I have written before this line number 6. So why didn't it execute beforehand? So that's the essence of function. You can define the function anywhere in the program, but they will be executed only when they are called. Okay, so once again you can define it at anywhere in your program, but they will be executed only when they are called. For example, let's say just to make it clear the code, that well the code started executing from this line number 7 or something. So let's print some number, let's print some message. Let's say start the program here. So now let us see whether it prints this line and then call this Bob please add or not. So let us just run it, and well, as you can see that it started the program at line number 7, and then from line number 8 there is a print statement, and inside this print statement it called Bob please add. So it called it with 5 and 4.5 and then executed, and since there is a return, it got the result back and printed it in here. So whenever you are starting a block of code with this def keyword, Python interpreter already knows that this is a function, and it just does not execute it in the beginning or anytime. It does not execute it so far when it is until it is not called explicitly. Okay, so that's how the function is. Now let us try to change our function a little bit. As I told that you can use any name of your choice. Now instead of, let's say, Bob please add, you can use the name like, let's say, add to numbers. All right, so now here just what you need to do is you have to call with the same name whatever you have written here, like add two numbers. So the program output is same, we just change the name of the function. That's okay. Now let us see, this time I have just hard coded this 5 and 4.5 in here, right? So now let us check whether I can pass any variables or something that where the input will be given by the user or not. So let us take two variables. Let's say this is my num1, where I'm writing like input enter first number, and then let's say my num2, where I am going to take like input enter second number, something like this. And then instead of passing this 5 and 4.5 here, let us pass this num1 and num2. So here actually the program will first ask the user to enter two different numbers, and they will store those numbers in num1 and num2 respectively, and then with the value of num1 and num2 it will call the function. So let us run this and let's see what is the output. So here actually it is asking for the first number, I am printing 5, then it is asking for the second number, I am giving 4.5, and then what it does is it just concatenated two numbers. Well, once again I made a mistake. What is that? I forgot to change this num1 and num2 to integer, because whenever you will read from the user, they are read as a string, not as an integer. So let us just convert it to integer, and like this. Or here the num2, let's say num2 will be a floating point number, something like this. So now once I'm done, so let's see whether there is any parenthesis mismatch. Okay, so there is a parenthesis mismatch over here. So now let us run it. So it is asking me the first number 5, then 4.5, and now if I just hit enter, it is printing 9.5. So here I have taken two different inputs from user, converted them to respected some data type conversion using type conversion, this int and float, and then calling the function with those data. Now instead of 5 and 4.5, it can be actually anything. Let's say 6 and 7.65, and if I hit enter, it is printing 13.75. So this is how you can call the function. So here 6 and 7.65, which are input, user input, that have been passed to the function and added in here. Now the next thing is, instead of only adding two numbers, you can write a function which is expecting three different numbers also. So you really do not need to restrict yourself to only two numbers. So let's call it like add three numbers, then n1, n2, and then n3, something like that. So that is also possible. And not only 3, you can do like 4, 5, 6, any number of any numbers. And next, let's say instead of adding, I am just interested in multiply 3 numbers. So what should I do? N1 times N2 times N3. And now here you should notice another thing, that is here basically I have used two different functions in one Python program. It is possible to have any number of functions in a Python program. Just use the def keyword and implement the function like this. So you can have 1, 2, 3, 4, any number of functions over here. So now let us try to call this multiply 3 numbers with some program from our Python program. So here I am just commenting out this add two numbers so that you can just focus on these multiply 3 numbers. So let's say I am taking another number, like let's say num3, input, then enter third number. So like this. And here instead of adding two number, let us do like print, then multiply 3 numbers, and then inside that what I need to do, I have to just cross, well, let's convert all of them as floating point number. That's much more generalized, so that we really do not need to care about the decimal points and everything. So let's say num1, num2, and num3. So for everything I have to use a float. Let's just convert it. So like this. So now let us run this program and let us see what happens. So here it is asking me for the first number, let's say 5, second number it is 6, and then the third number is, let's say, 7. So something like this. Well, I think the connection has some problem, so let's run it again. So 5, 6, and then 7. So now here, as you can see, the code is actually multiplying these three numbers. 5 times 6 is 30, 30 times 7 is 210. So now as you have seen that, well, a function can have any name, a function can have any number of parameters inside, and you also have seen an example how to call functions. And well, one more thing I should like to clarify at this point, you do not need to restrict yourself to only one function call. Like I just commented that part out so that you can focus on only one function, but in the real program you can call the functions as many times as you want. So let's see what happens. So here basically, let's say just to distinguish, print the result of add two numbers like this, and let's call this end equals like this. And here I'm just adding another line, multiply 3 numbers, and then end. So let us see whether we can call both the functions together in this function, in this Python code or not. So if I just run it, it is asking me for the first number, let us say 5, then the second number 6, then the next number 7. And then if I just run it, as you can see, the first function call, which is printing the multiply 3 numbers, it is printing 210, that is 5 times 6 times 7. And the second function call is also successful, which is just adding first two numbers, that is num1 and num2, that is giving 5 plus 6, 11. So this is how you can construct the function, and like this, using this def keyword and following this syntax. And this is how you can call those functions from your Python program. Just function name followed by the real value which you want to pass.